Hello, everyone. My name is SoftTibbies, and welcome to a new episode of Tibby Time. It has been a very long time, and I'm here with an absolutely amazing artist. My first question for you is, how did you get your name, Felicide?
Well, Felicide is it was my first email name actually when I was first trying how to make an email, and I didn't want just a random email like, oh, put my name here, then random numbers and uh characteristics and stuff like that. I simply wanted to be a little bit more creative, and so I was brainstorming different names. And suddenly the name Felicid came to my mind because in Portuguese it separates into two words, feliz, which means happy, and seed, uh, which is another way to say ceder, which means to give, which form which has formed the phrase in my head. Feliz quem cede, which translates to happy those who give, and so that became my name. And another fun fact is that way later, after I started my account, it I realized that Felis is also the scientific name for a cat. So that made me extra happy.
That's really cool because I actually thought it was cat related to be.
Yeah, it was just a coincidence.
How long have you been drawing for, or what made you start drawing to begin with?
I was a hobbyist ever since I've known myself, but I only started taking seriously uh, at school after I met this girl who really knew how to draw. And so, in order to impress her, I started to take drawing more seriously. And from that, it just took off. I realized that I wanted to keep on drawing because I really like to draw. And and now she's living her own life, but I'm still drawing, and I'm taking more seriously.
Was it hard transitioning from like just traditional illustrations over to animating? What was that like?
It was a little bit hard. Like it's there's a bunch of hurdles that you have to wrap your head around, like how to keep your character consistent between frames and make them act, but it's ultimately very fun. So I just kept doing it, and there's an extra motivation where animation is really sought out in social medias, and eventually I started making friends with other animators. So I just kept on animating because of all of it.
So what's it like collaborating with other artists, especially like other animators and the such?
Collaborating with other animators is actually smoother than you'd think because it's my collaboration so far has been very thought out, and I was just doing really simple tasks like uh, coloring and doing in betweens, which for you who don't know, it's the drawing between drawings in animation, which is what make animation works flow smoothly. And I'm actually doing the same. Like I collaborate with other animators on my own projects, and on the other, working on the other side is a little bit harder because you have to organize everything. But it's much more fun to work as a team than doing everything by yourself, even though that can be fun as well. But it's not fun to. keep going in one project for a really long time until you burn out. So I, if you have the time to collaborate with other artists as well, I can definitely recommend you to give it a try.
I noticed that a lot of your animations kind of like focus on a theme or like a specific body part to like show off and stuff like that. Do you have a favorite body part to animate?
Dude, that is a constant flow in my head. Like sort of like a mood. Like today I'm a thigh guy. Tomorrow I might be a book guy, and the day after that I might be a butt kind of guy. Um, I've been thinking a lot about bellies lately because I've seen these other illustrations of girls showing off their bellies, and I was never a belly guy. Like last year, I didn't think about bellies that much, but now I've been thinking about them a lot and the possibilities that you can do with a nice belly. And so I've been thinking about trying that more and more.
Other than drawing, what do you like to do?
I like to play instruments. For instance, I like playing the piano, the violin. I also love to play games. Like, I'm definitely looking forward to the new Resident Evil, which is gonna be releasing tomorrow by the date of this recording.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's these are basically my hobbies. Also, oh yeah, I like to watch movies and series a lot.
As a larger artist, I guess this is a question that would suit you very well. Do you have a favorite platform to post on?
I like to post on Twitter, even though lots of bad things are happening there right now. But Twitter for me has been a highway. Like, imagine you're posting on for Affinity, right? You post on for Affinity, you post on Newgrounds, and the community there is, well, I would say good, but then I remembered about for Affinity and all the things that have been happening there. It it depends on the people that you hang out with, and there's of course it's gonna be good and bad people everywhere. But yeah, I like to post on Twitter the most because that's where people find me the easiest. And from there, that's where I send people all over the place. Like, you can still check my work on for Affinity. You can check my work on Blue Sky. You can check my work, especially on Patreon, because that's where you guys can support me. And that's where I that's where I uh, basically make my living making all of this.
For those who don't know, what does your Patreon have to offer?
My Patreon can offer my animations, of course. I There are some alts that I put in there, especially not safe for work, that I don't put anywhere else. Also, some illustrations, sketches, especially. You can also find clips, clip studio, Photoshop files, time lapses, and whatever else I find it cool to put in there.
What is your favorite part and the hardest part of the artistic process, in your opinion?
In my opinion, the hardest part is coming up with idea and simply starting the project. Because when you start, there are infinite possibilities, right? And so, along with those possibilities, you don't know how people will react. That's what really weighs on my conscience whenever I start a new project. Like, are people gonna find this cool? Will they approve? Um, is it gonna spark some sort of controversy? That kind of stuff. But after a while working on it, uh, that those thoughts simply just starts to dim down. And by the end, I think it's the most fun where you're just hanging around and putting down the details, getting into Zen mode, and focusing on finishing the project.
How would
So
you
yeah,
describe your Zen mode? Like what's your rendering process?
my Zen mode is simply just staying there, just swiping the brush and checking it, zooming out in the illustration or animation, see how it's going, going back and making adjustments accordingly. As for my rendering process, I would describe it as pixel art. But it's of course it has a lot more pixels than actual pixel art, but the thought process is basically the same. Where I use um, I use simple brushes and I try to make my shadows and lightnings as simple as possible. Like I try to avoid airbrush because they can get messy real quick. But and so I prefer to make little shades as precise as possible, and then I make variations of those shades, like subtle grade. I make gradients step by step until they become smoothly enough, and also color variations, that kind of stuff. Try to feel as much of the character as I not as I possibly can, but until I'm satisfied.
If you could look back on your younger self, what would you say for like advice for yourself?
Looking back, I would say work on your fundamentals. I know that they're boring. They're not as exciting as simply working on humans and that kind of stuff. But try to work on simple things like cubes, uh, circles, spheres, cones. Move on to trees, um, objects that you find in a room. Try to replicate them, and and slowly try to get more um try to get more detail because drawing humans is the hardest thing that you will ever draw. Like it can't get harder than that. And also don't don't completely trust uh art courses, art schools, right? Do your research, get to know people who are in it, get into a community before actually jumping headfirst into this world because this is a world that you're gonna need friends, you're gonna need support, and so don't do it alone because gonna get farther when you're with friends.
Speaking of like inspirations and such, who are your inspirations or what are your inspirations?
My inspirations are very fluid. I get inspired by hentai artists and furry artists that I simply find appealing at the time. Like I also get super inspired by my friends and whatever they're doing. Like there's this guy called Zoiler who makes incredible belly, butts, and breasts. Leniavok, who despite uh, having some sort of fame, also he's a little infamous in the fandom, but luckily that's not gonna last because I find him in good character. I can definitely call him a friend, and his art is actually really good, very inspiring. character drawings. Also, tably on the animation side, like which I'm lucky to be friends with him and other very talented animators, and we trade we trade secrets and techniques all the time. And so yeah, I believe my biggest inspirations are my friends.
That's good. So, how did you come up with your main like persona slash OCs?
Uh, my pink cat Felix has started actually as a black cat, believe it or not, and she used to be a petite, uh, thin twink, and eventually she developed into this gorgeous pink cat with thick thighs. And then there's Void, the black cat, who has inherited the black cat zona and has developed into another gorgeous, bombastic woman, sort of a seductress. So yeah, to answer your question, my OC actually my two OCs actually started as one, but then has separated into two.
What made you start doing sexy Cattober?
I started doing Sexy Cattober at 2020, and I was feeling I was feeling very unsatisfied with my progress on Twitter. Yeah, looking at how some artists were developing their accounts, I noticed that they've been posting very frequently, which is the sort of a undertaking that I couldn't wrap my head around because I like taking time with my projects. Then I thought out about Inktober and how that motivates artists to simply draw every day for a month, and how people were making different takes of Inktober. And I noticed that I couldn't find any cat themed Inktober thing, and so I decided to make my own. I I didn't know if it would get me followers or not, but I don't know. I just had this feeling that it would at least make me better as an artist. So I just went that way, and yeah, the first Sexy October wasn't exactly successful because I messed up my timing. I was too um I went too far with backgrounds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I decided to simplify it. And so eventually it kind of became too easy for me.
Oh, really?
So
What
yeah,
made it too easy?
actually I think I got in touch with my own process, and I've been drawing for long enough that I could I could make illustrations in a day if I had the right idea, and if my feeling was right, if I was feeling good at the day, I can just dish out uh something ready. But yeah, I knew exactly how things were gonna go, and I could prepare beforehand. Eventually, I decided if I wanted to make it animated as well, and so I did, and it was its own challenge, but I don't know. Eventually, doing Cattober wasn't as satisfying anymore. That's why I stopped.
If you had to choose, or if you can choose, that is, what would you consider your magnum opus, your best piece?
Well, there's this one piece that I always come back to, which is an illustration that I made of Coco a long time ago, which I think fondly of that illustration because it was an illustration where I took my sweet time, and you know that feeling where you're drawing the character and you start like falling in love with the character all over again,
Hmm.
as if it was the first time you realized that you really like this character. And so I wanted to make the best rendering of her that I could. And all those memories bundle up to make this really sweet feeling. And so I'm very proud of that piece.
What's it like streaming art, by the way?
Stressful. It's very stressful. Um, I there are moments where I had to stream for my not for my safety, it's more for financial purposes. Like I've been into crisis already where I had to stream to make quick money, and so and then I don't know. I think maybe those experiences have led to me not liking streaming that much.
Hmm.
I don't know. I can really explain it well, but uh, I l- I've always been the type of guy who would prefer to make things on my own time, and that also means that I like to keep it private, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that I don't stream from time to time. I I also like the showmanship of streaming what I'm doing. So I might stream in the future. Who knows?
So my final question for you is: do you have any questions for me or any open-ended questions?
Dude, I had a question before we started this, but I was thinking about living for for the end, but I kind of forgot.
Okay.
Hold up. No, for real, for real. Why why do you do interviews?
Well, I guess my answer for that would be I noticed I don't want to say there's like a market for it, but I guess the best way to describe it is I've always wanted to learn from not safe for work artists. When I started drawing, that was the first thing that I kind of latched onto, and I saw some big artists, and I was like, oh my god, I just want to know what it's like. Like, what are these people's daily lives like, and stuff like that. What's the process like? And through interviews and speaking to different artists, I've learned quite a lot. So yeah, that's the reason I do interviews.
That leads to another question, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you could you share uh, what attracts you to not safe for work art?
Because I, as generic as like I'd like to say, oh well, of course I just like boobs, butts, and all the in betweens. Um, it's actually because I find not safe for work to be more complex, and I noticed that not safe for work people are more down to earth. I've noticed because we all kind of have it's just another day in the office kind of thing. You kind of
Mhm.
just get I'd like desensitized to it or like other stuff like that. But for the most part, it's because of the details. Because it requires a lot more intimate anatomy knowledge than most things I've noticed. Stuff like that, I'd say.
Good answer.
Well, you heard it here, folks. If you have a very high liking for cats, well, I have the place for you. It's at Felicide on Twitter and on for Affinity and other places such as that. You can find them and try to support their Patreon if you can. Thank you very much for watching, and bye.